Brandon Crow watching from Hockey Canada. Writes in and he says, my wife and her two sisters all played NCAA Division I hockey. They attribute it to waiting around that chute as kids and using those prairie oysters as hockey puck. Shooting them for the dog. Here's
Bingo!
one. All the raw testicles that I collected one day, I put them in a margarine container. Remember the old Imperial margarine that had the purple crowns around it? I put them all in there, and I took them to a party, a bush party. You've been there, Moose. You weren't at that one, but you've been to them. And I was going to cook them. I was going to cook them and make people eat them and not tell them what they were till after. But it didn't matter because Philip Kenyon took one, popped it in his mouth, crunched it raw. And he was smiling, and the blood ran down.
And he knew what it was?
I will never forget. He knew what it was. Philip Kenyon.
That was Fear Factor before there was Fear Factor with Joe Rogan.
I know. Beer might have been involved. But the next time that we're driving to Montana, I'll show you exactly where it is, because a lot of stuff went down at that site. A lot of stuff. I'm not going to go any further, but just remind me later. I'll tell you about the bikers that were on their way back from Sturgis from the rally that stopped at our party.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
This is peak Florida. Yes, it is. It's just so mean. From the moment I set foot there, they're like, don't leave. And the only reason I am is because it's too damn hot. But it's just anything goes, man. No helmets on motorcycles. No law. There's no laws in Florida. Ponies mating, and it's just my kind of thing.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
It actually is, and I'm invited to a birthday party tonight at Marin Bank Arena by one of my Florida friends. We'll be talking about that later. We'll be talking about a lot of hockey here in Hour 1, everybody, here on Game Plus Television and live streaming, whatever platform you're watching or whatever podcast you're listening to. Hour 1 hockey, Hour 2 football, okay? That's the deal. Coming up in Hour 2, Canada's foremost NFL pundit and expert Jim Clubber-Lang is going to be with us. And here in Hour 1, would you please welcome to the program our hockey analyst from the famous hockey-playing Dumba family, Jared Dumba. And Jared, how you going, man? I appreciate you coming on today. 40 minutes of hockey talk. That should allow us to get through everything you want to cover. Am I right?
Yeah. It'll be close.
It'll be tight. Well, here's the thing. You and I, we had the ability to talk before we went to air, but we didn't talk about what we would like to talk about. But I think between you and we didn't prep each other. We didn't coach each other up, but I think we'll be fine. Before we go any further, guys, you want to hit the quick six show horn, and we'll get down to business and quit Mickey Mousing here.
How about that?
It's not going to be just hockey. Jared said he only wanted to talk hockey, but there's breaking news today. I'm not sure that you've heard, Jared, and it's sad news. Bob Uecker, the voice of his hometown Milwaukee Brewers, who after a short playing career earned the moniker Mr. Baseball and honors from the Hall of Fame after becoming the team's broadcaster, has died. Bob Uecker was 90. In a statement released by the team this morning, the Milwaukee Brewers, Uecker's family said he had battled small cell lung cancer since early 2023. Bob Uecker, born and raised in Milwaukee, signed his first pro contract with the Milwaukee Braves in 1956 and reached the majors in 1962, played 6 seasons there, hitting 14 homers, and then, of course, transitioning into the broadcast booth, and that's where he's been ever since. So Bob Uecker passing. Come on, Jared, you're a sports fan. What is your favorite line? I should have told you that I was going to ask you from Major League from Bob Uecker. I know you're thinking about it. I know you're thinking. He made the movie.
Bob Euchre's
right?
unbelievable. I mean, and he's it's just he's kind of somebody that when you think about guys that kind of transcend the sport that kind of make it. Guys you can just listen to for hours. That's kind of the thing that comes to mind when you think of Bob Euchre. I mean, that's pretty sad news for the baseball and the sporting world. But I mean, what a career and what a guy! What his contributions are you can't even measure them.
Well, as we said in the eulogy there, or the statement, he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he made that movie Major League. So maybe over the next, or the trilogy, in fact, my favorite line is just this, this simple, just a bit outside. But he's got many, many through the whole movie, and again the trilogy. So Bob Euchre passing at the age of 90 today. I feel like he called games almost up until the day that he died. So I guess from a broadcaster standpoint, and again an old athlete size standpoint too, that's kind of sad news there. But now, okay, we move into the hockey, and it was a mild night. 2 goals and an assist from captain Connor McDavid lifted the Oilers to a 5-3 win over the Wild in Minnesota. Vasily Podkolzin, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Zach Hyman also scored for the Oilers, who won their 4th straight game. Calvin Pickard made 31 saves. Elsewhere, Buffalo upset Carolina 4-2. All 7 Canadian NHL teams are in action tonight. The Leafs host the Devils. The Sens take on the Capitals in Ottawa. Flames visit the Blues. Canadiens look to dim the Stars in Dallas. Later, the Jets battle the Kraken. The Oilers face the Avs in Colorado, and the Canucks go up against the Kings in Vancouver. So, where is your hockey focus? If you could pick one thing, what's the biggest story to you in the world of hockey right now, Jared?
The world of hockey right now, to me, well, it'd be a couple things. The Red Wings, new coaching staff. I think McClellan's doing a great job there. 4 Nations coming up. There's a little bit of spotlight on that. The Jets. There's been the rookies that are coming around. Lane Hudson and with the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, there's just you pick one. There's so many. Nowadays, it seems like there's 25 different stories all going on at once, and it's just like.
Yes.
You can eat them up like hotcakes every single night. You can't get it.
Yeah.
You just can't get enough.
It's very similar in the NFL, to be honest. So many stories. That's what a lot of people follow it, not just for the actual games, but the storylines themselves. And actually, while we're at it, 902-518-3033 is the text line to reach us here. 902-518-3033, the text line for Progressive Insurance. And there is other breaking news today. The 2025 Canadian Football League schedule has been released at long last. I've got CFL fans writing in. It's going to be football in hour 2. So thank you all for writing in. And join us then if you're not into the hockey talk. But this is going to blow your mind, Jared. The idea that all 7 Canadian teams could make the Stanley Cup playoffs seems completely far-fetched to me. Almost like mathematically, you just feel like there's no way that they could. But I get a newsletter every day from yahoo.com, and it was talked about in there. So before I sprinkle a few very interesting factoids on that, do you think it's as preposterous as I do that all 7 Canadian teams can make the playoffs, or is it actually more realistic than I'm giving it credit for?
I think it's realistic. You know, ever since Laine came into to Montreal, and you asked me that last time, do I think he's a missing piece to get him to the playoffs? And I kind of said, well, you know, I don't know if one player can do that. Well, they've been on the right trajectory. They could definitely make the playoffs. You see the young kid that I mentioned, Lane Hudson, putting up points every night as a rookie D-man. He's on pace to beat guys like Brian Leach, guys like that in rookie season for points. Then you look at the Ottawa Senators and what they're doing. They're a tough one. I called earlier in the season that I thought they'd be just sneaking in the playoffs. They've got some great players. I think once Allmark gets back and gets in the flow, that'll happen. Winnipeg's going to be there. Winnipeg, if you watch them the last little while, they just look unbelievable. You look at Toronto, obviously we know they're going to be there. I think they got a shot at it this year. I said that earlier. Took a lot of flack for that one, but now it's starting to look like Toronto's winning a lot of really close games. a lot of one-goal games, and that bodes well for the playoffs. We know the Oilers are going to be there. Boy, I watched that game last night. Did they look unbelievable? It's like they were shot out of a cannon, and all of a sudden they're down 2-0 somehow. Shows how good Minnesota is, but they came right back. They don't get phased. They're calm, cool, and collected, just like their coach, my old line mate and teammate in Austin, Texas, Chris Knobloch. Then you look down the way a little bit. Calgary, everybody's been expecting them to fall off since the beginning of the season, and they just keep going. What are they going to do? Are they going to add something? Are they going to stand pat? I think it looks like they're going to make the playoffs, especially when you look at the middling teams behind them. And then you go to Vancouver. If they can get their goaltending short up here down the stretch, I think they're going to be just fine. They could be somebody, if they get everything going properly for the playoffs, they could get excited after the season they've had, and they could be dangerous in the playoffs. But all 7 Canadian teams definitely have a shot at it. And if they could all get in, the country, you're going to have people going back and forth online. I love watching the guys go at each other's throats on Twitter or X. Whatever we're calling it now, and it's just fun. It makes it fun having all that back noise.
I don't like watching the fighting, but I mean, I mean it's entertaining, but I can only watch it for so long. Okay, take a breath, take a sip of coffee. Jared just covered the whole country of Canada in terms of their team's outlook. So good job. Literally take a swig. While you do that, I'm just going to throw in a couple of comments from the audience here regarding Bob Uecker passing away at the age of 90. Me asking, what is your favorite line of Bob Uecker's from the Major League movie series? Bomber Boy writes in from Calgary, says his Major League movie role was the best. You can't swear on air. Who cares? Nobody's listening. Anyways, you remember that. We used to laugh about that all the time. The post-game show's brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. Forget it. Nobody's listening anyways. So good. So good. Randy in Winnipeg says, I think the Capitals might be the biggest story so far. Upstate New York, Cardinal Ryan has just checked in and says, good day, Rod Squad. Rest in peace, Bob Uecker. We honored him right off the start, Cardinal Ryan. Jenna Reagan has checked in from Southern California and says, how about those Sabres? Yeah, we talked about that too. Them upsetting the Carolina Hurricanes last night. By the way, Ryan, Kyle Manifold, yesterday's co-host, I should mention the Moose ain't here. He's actually now flying to go cover a curling event. So every day we've had a stable of analysts on here. It's going great. Today, Jared Dumba, our hockey analyst. Yesterday, Kyle Manifold from the Hockey Podcast Network. I'm just going to point out he went 0-2 in his picks. I went 1 for 2 last night in the picks, correctly picking the Oilers, wrongly picking the Washington Capitals. Now, before I go any further, stepping out of the comments, everybody, you can keep writing, but I won't be looking at it for a while. I'm going to throw a curveball at you, Jared, and you're not getting. You'd be stunned. I'll be stunned if you would know this. When's the last time all 7 Canadian teams made the Stanley Cup playoffs? Because it was in this email from Yahoo.com today, and I'm like, there's no way that ever happened. Yeah, I know, right? And I'm like, this has got to be an error. And they put in the year. I'm like, that's American writers. They don't know hockey. They don't know what they're talking about. I went and looked it up. I'm like, dag nabbit, they got it right. It happened. It happened, y'all.
You'd have to think that would have to be around 2005, 2006, because Ottawa hasn't been around that long. The first few years, they weren't that strong. I don't know for sure. I would guess 2005, 2006. Area.
I would have said it never happened, by the way, so I'd have been totally wrong. It was 1986, and it's a trick question. The Quebec Nordiques were the 7th team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know. Who would have said Jets, Oilers, Flames, Canucks, Leafs, Habs, Quebec Nordiques make 7. And it happened in 1986, man.
That's pretty amazing, all 7. Yeah, because it's usually somebody's in the midst of a rebuild, or somebody's just hit their peak and on the way down. So yeah, all 7. If we can do it this year.
Yeah, it's something that we talk about a lot down here amongst the hockey people. You know, the Canadian teams making the playoffs, and what was it like in a 21-team NHL? That's my NHL, what I grew up in. I know a lot of the viewers watching right now, because we own the 55-plus age demographic, owns the 55-plus age demographic across Canada. They grew up in the original 6 era. Then there was the 12-team era, right? And then the 21-team era. Now there's 32, but the point is 7 Canadian teams and a 21-team, playoff teams, and a 21-team NHL just seems, crazy. Darcy writes in from Grand Prairie. I haven't had time to proofread this question, so if I swear, blame Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta. He says, I'm officially on a Saskatchewan watch, but I do have a hockey question for you. He's talking time. Why does the NHL have so many nights during the week where there was only 1 game or 2, and then they have 15 games or so the next day? Why not balance that out more? I would say that's not planned, Jared.
No, that all comes down to building availability, and if you got other NBA teams or somebody else, concerts in the building that don't allow for even the next day being able to have a game somewhere. Sometimes, if they can't get stuff together quick enough, which they usually can, but all that stuff comes into it. Building availability, basically.
That's the answer, plain and simple. Eddie Benoit writes in and says, Bob Uecker, a legend of baseball. And Milwaukee, get up and get gone. 90 years old, rest in peace. Eddie Benoit talking about Bob Uecker passing away at the age of 90 today. A lot of football fans showing up here today. It's going to be football in hour 2. So enjoy what we're talking about now, which is hockey with our hockey analyst, Jared Dumba from the famous hockey-playing Dumba family. Or don't stick around. Come back in hour 2. That's when Jim Lang is going to be with us, Canada's foremost NFL expert, and we'll be talking about the huge news in the CFL, and that is the schedule release. We're going to take a timeout. This first segment went fast, Jared. I feel like we barely talked about anything. But we'll get to some more serious things when we come back. I know, including tonight's NHL picks and breakaway bets. We'll be back in a moment. You're watching the RP Show on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now. stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Okay, the RP show continues, and by the way, it may take weeks, months, or even years to get the call to be a stem cell donor. Saving lives takes commitment and dedication, just like being a hockey player. Give hope to patients in Canada. Register online at blood.ca/get swabbed and spread the word amongst your family and friends. Jared Dumba is with us, our hockey analyst. It's hockey in hour one, football in hour two, and before we get to my NHL top 5 teams and bottom 5 teams for the week, I do it every week in my South Florida Tribune column. I just want to get your take on that. And plus tonight's picks that we'll get to, Jared and I going head-to-head in the breakaway bet segment. You mentioned the number one focus for you is the Detroit Red Wings and their head coach, Todd McClellan. Interestingly enough, they're here tonight in Sunrise, and I'm going to the game. I'm very much looking forward to it. What's your take on them going 7-2? They've bookended 7 wins with losses on either side. How do you feel about the way that they've played?
Well, I mean, the first game to be expected, they lost to the Leafs. It was sort of a tight game, I guess, but it's the first night in with the coach. He didn't have a lot of time with them, but then they wrap off 7 wins. And sometimes I was looking at the Red Wings earlier in the season. I was thinking, they got too many aging vets. They just looked lifeless a lot of games and a little bit too structured. Now you bring in McClellan. He keeps the defensive structure. And when you're watching the games, you can see as soon as they hit that red line or the blue line, it's just guys are just being creative. So I think what he's probably doing is just telling them, in the offensive zone, go ahead, create. Sometimes you get coaches like that who come in, take over, and you're going, hey, coach, what are we practicing on the power play today? Move the puck fast. And you go, well, where do you want me to be? I don't know. Figure it out. Move the puck fast. Make sure you keep your feet moving. And then all of a sudden you start bringing the creativity back out of the guys. To me, that's what it looks like's been going on with the Detroit Red Wings. The power play is what, second in the league over however long it's been. Kane's come alive. Larkin's been playing well. They just kind of look like a whole new team. All of a sudden, their games are exciting to watch. As where before McClellan they were just boring as heck to watch. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do if they can keep it going. I know they just had another loss, but see if they can keep some wins rolling. Looks like they're all having a lot more fun, and when you have a lot more fun, that's when the wins start coming.
4 points out of a playoff spot as we sit here today, and that playoff spot's held by the Columbus Blue Jackets, I believe. Do I have that right? I just looked it up. It's funny that a team that has Patrick Kane on it and Vladimir Tarasenko would be called boring, but you're right. Yeah, it's Columbus. That didn't pass the spell check. So I guess it's kind of it's a hell of a race for the final playoff spots, and it's going to be the rest of the way. Now, just stop that for a second before we get to the picks. What about the Flames? We have so many viewers in Calgary. We already know the Oilers are going to be fine. We know that. They're rolling. But the Flames, do you feel they should be a buyer at the deadline? Like, if it's going so well, I literally would say, why fiddle with anything? Let's just see how far this goes with the group that we have, because clearly it's special.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you don't want to give up too much or give up some of your youth that's coming in the next couple of years. You know, guys that you've been bringing along. Yeah, you're going to have to trade something. You don't want to give away draft picks. And I mean, who are you going to get unless you can get a real smoking deal on a big guy? But I mean, you have to think you're going to win the cup if you're going to be adding, quite a bit. I'm with you, Rod. I said that earlier today, talking with the guy. I would stand pat and see where it goes, because this can go one of two ways. You can go from here. You can kind of keep bringing a lot of those younger guys that are getting better. You can make a couple more draft picks, and 4 or 5 years down the road, you can get yourself in the mix. Especially with a goaltender like Wolf. You start trading away youth and getting a few older guys, and then if you don't win the cup in a few years, you're getting rid of those guys. You got no younger guys coming in, and you could be stuck a middling team like the New York Islanders for the next decade and a half. So I'm with you. Stand pat on that. Keep bringing your younger guys around. Have the Kadris and Uyghurs and those guys. Those guys are going to be around for a while. If they can stick it out and keep playing a lot of hockey for the next 5-6 years, all of a sudden they might find themselves in the mix. At that time, then you can start trading your first and second overall draft picks and bring in a big guy or two at the deadline.
Brent's watching from Wellington, Florida, writes, and he says, 4-3 Cats, let's go. Panthers and Wings tonight at American Bank Arena. And Brent, I'll be looking you up on my way to the birthday party for our good friend Alex. I'm not sure who all was invited to this party, so I don't want to, If you know, you know. Because we're on a television station anchored in Toronto, we don't talk enough Leafs, and I'm actually okay with that because everybody else is. But since they are your number 2 team behind the LA Kings, and they are your dad's number 1 team, how do you feel about the fact that they've lost 3 in a row and they got the Devils in there tonight? Moose is saying they're going off a cliff. What do you think?
This happens to the Leafs. It happens to everybody at some point in time. I think that if it's going to happen, now's a pretty good time. You could have guys gearing up, looking a little bit early towards the Four Nations Cup. It's zero concern for myself. If they lost a couple more, I wouldn't really have any concern. When you look at the way things are going this year, I mentioned it earlier. When you look at how many 1-goal games they've won, that's huge for the playoffs. When you can get in those tight games and win games, when you can have some come from behind wins, when you're a team that's as deep as the Leafs, and is getting great goaltending. When you get Stolarz back rolling, and between him and Wall, when Stolarz went out, they were the number 1 and number 5 goaltenders in the league, and I heard a lot of people complaining that the Leafs goaltending was going to be the problem this year. So if you, I think you just stick with it. With Berube, guys are still, just getting his systems. With a new coach, that takes a lot longer than you think. You can have some off nights, I guess you'd say, with a newer coach. But now down the stretch, we'll see what the Leafs are. I think they're going to keep piling up wins. Good chance of finishing either first or second in the division. And let's see what they can do. I'm still holding tight. I still think that this is the Leafs' year. Everything that's kind of come together here, and with guys in contract years, the way Mitch Marner's playing, I know everybody, it's the easy out to say, well, he's never done it in the playoffs, and we should trade him. Well, guess what? I bet you the Washington Capitals are awful happy that they didn't trade Alex Ovechkin for 12 or 13 years before he won his first Stanley Cup and couldn't win in the playoffs. Eventually, it's got to happen. You got to stick with your guys. Ooh. And if the Leafs fans are listening, just hang in there. It's coming. This year, next year, the year after, lots of time with this crew.
Listen, that is a hot take. That's like Ovi on his stick that night in Phoenix. That's a hot take. It's like you're comparing Mitch Marner to be the next Ovi. You weren't, but you kind of are. So anyways, I hope everybody's enjoying the hockey talk here on the RP show on Game Plus Television. So again, you can stop for those down here in South Florida. Pick up a copy of the South Florida Tribune today. My latest column is in it. Every week I give my top 5 NHL teams and my bottom 5 NHL teams, and I don't really care if anybody agrees or not. It's how I feel. Here are my top 5 teams as of today, Jared. Number 1, Winnipeg Jets. Number 2, Vegas Golden Knights. Number 3, Washington Capitals. Number 4, the Minnesota Wild. And number 5, the Edmonton Oilers, who just beat Minnesota last night. They've snuck. This is, if you look at the top 5 of the standings, it doesn't resemble that. It's not that. But those are my top 5 teams. I agree or disagree? Winnipeg, Vegas, Washington, Minnesota, Edmonton.
You know what? I'd probably have all 5 of those guys in there. I'd have Edmonton at number 2, and I'd probably just switch Edmonton to number 2. Washington's a great story. We'll see if they're going to be buyers at the deadline or not. That's going to be very interesting to watch. Our buddy Ross Mahoney doing a great job there. But I think the Edmonton Oilers, just from the simple eye test the last little while, I'd throw them up as right behind Winnipeg. Winnipeg, Kyle Connor. You got the way him and Scheifele are playing, and if Hellebuck can be the goalie he is in the regular season in the playoffs, that's going to be a dangerous team. I know that they don't, take big swings at the deadline usually, but if they can add something on that defense and maybe a raw guy on the 3rd or 4th line, look out. That's going to be interesting. It's going to be such a fun playoffs this year, Roddy.
Bomber Boy writes in, he says, every year is the Leafs year. Signed every Leaf fan in the history of the NHL. Correct. Eddie writes in and says, Kings are my team. I don't want to face Edmonton 4th year in a row. Connor McDavid, I want Vegas to beat Vancouver tonight to get back on track. Go, Kings, go. Rich in Edmonton writes in and he says, Oilers 5th, Rod? It's your list, so fair enough. Go look at the standings, bro. They're not even in the top 5 points-wise. I'm giving you a gift. You should be happy. Jared's got them number 2. To the bottom 5, for now, I've got 28 Nashville, 29 Seattle, 30 Buffalo, 31 San Jose, and 32 Chicago. They're just terrible. And we're going to Chicago tomorrow for a couple of games this weekend, Saturday and Monday. I want to put Vancouver in there. And the way they're going, they will be eventually. But Nashville, Seattle, Buffalo, San Jose, Chicago. Deal or no deal?
I think that's, I can't argue with that at all. One thing with San Jose, you look at how many games where they've been in the lead in the 3rd period or late in the 2nd, and they've dropped the lead. I think that's a team that is, like, you look at Chicago, and they're a long ways away. Bedard still has nobody to play with. The best guys he has to play with are an aging vet who missed a year in Taylor Hall, 40 to 50 point guys on any 3rd liners on any other team, or maybe a 2nd line role player. When you look at San Jose and what they got and everybody in their system, if you sit at home and look what's in everybody's cupboards like I do, San Jose, it's only going to be a couple of years from now before they're starting to make a push for those playoffs, in my opinion.
I hope you're right, but now would be for their sake, but now would be a good time to talk about those Vancouver Canucks. I don't know what the coverage is in Canada. I don't really follow the NHL coverage of the TSNs and the Sportsnets largely. Serena does. I don't need it. And then I don't care about who doesn't like who in the Vancouver dressing room.
No kidding.
What I know is they got blown up in Winnipeg the other night, 6-1, and they're going the wrong way. Do you have a read on that team?
Well, I don't know. It's so tough with Vancouver. Sometimes in Vancouver, I lived out there, played some junior hockey out in Surrey, BC. It can get a lot like Toronto, where there's just too much news coming, and there's guys making up stories. I'm with you. I don't like the whole, does Pedersen like Miller stuff? Just leave that alone. That's stuff you talk about after one of them gets traded. For reporters to be coming out and making that a hot topic. That's, focus on the game. I want to hear about the team and what's going on with the games and, moves that they might make, stuff like that. Let's keep it a little more, keep the gloves above the belt a little more in that area. But I don't know, with the Canucks, it's such a tough read. One night you'll watch them and they look like they're a top 5 team in the league, and the next night you watch them and they look like they're not going to make the playoffs. I think that they're going to put stuff together with Tocchet there and with the team that they have. We'll see if they make any moves. If they really shake it up, that can throw some questions into everything. I think that they're going to pull it together here. They got too good a team. They're too well coached, and if they can get their goaltending on track, that'll be a big thing as well with Demko.
Okay. We're going to just go a minute or two over because we got to get to our breakaway bets, and then I'll let you go. I don't need the reasons why, and certainly not a point spread or anything. Just pick the winner straight up because there's 13 games tonight. Detroit at Florida. Who wins?
Detroit.
I got Florida. New Jersey Devils at Toronto. Who wins?
Toronto.
I'll take the Devils. Perfect. San Jose at Columbus. Columbus for me.
Columbus.
How about you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Columbus. Yeah.
Washington at Ottawa tonight. That might be the game of the night. Caps for me.
Oh, I got to go I got to go Washington.
Anaheim Ducks at the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's the Bolts for me.
You know what? There's always an upset somewhere that you're not expecting. I'm going to go with Anaheim to have an upset on the road. Get excited going into Tampa Bay.
Philadelphia at the Islanders. I'll take Philly. You?
I'm going to go with the Islanders.
Okay, this is on me. We really got to speed it up. Flames at Blues. I'll take the Blues.
Flames.
Chicago at Nashville. Preds here. Preds for me.
Chicago. Chicago for me.
Okay. Montreal at Dallas.
Oh, I got to go with Dallas.
Yeah, me too. Seattle at Winnipeg. Jets for me.
Jets all day long.
Rangers at Utah. Rangers for me.
Utah for me.
Edmonton at Colorado. Avs for me. You?
Because of the travel, I got to go with the Avs too.
And LA Kings at Vancouver. I think I'll take the Kings.
LA. Yeah, me too.
Yep, you too. Okay. Jared, we covered it all. This has been awesome. Thanks for your time, brah. Enjoy the hockey.
Anytime. Thanks, brother. We'll be chatting soon.
Jared's appearance brought to you by Culligan of Regina. Check him out at culliganregina.com. We'll be back with a sports update and then whatever you would like to discuss. We'll throw it all on the table. We'll be right back here on Game Plus, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house. Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Okay, we're back at it on this Thursday, episode number 1415 of the Old RP Show, coming at you live on Game Plus TV. Thanks to everybody for making us part of your day, as they say. Allie is checked in from Texarkana. She says, happy Thursday, RP and squad. Hey, Allie, you just missed 40 minutes of straight hockey talk. I think the best thing for you would be to go rewind or stay, do whatever you do you. But we're going to wade into what everybody else is interested in discussing here today. That was a fun segment with Jared Dumba. Yeah, we're going to Chicago tomorrow. This is funny. Chicago, that toddling town. There were three cities left on my bucket list. Chicago, Jacksonville, and New Orleans. Stroked Jacksonville and New Orleans off the last couple of years. Chicago's the last city left. And Mike and Joanne Lee are going to meet us there. Serena's got a pizza off planned. A pizza off. She's calling it a pizza off. I'm calling it a pizza off because we've had two people tell us differing places to go for Chicago deep dish pizza. Dale Talon, the former general manager of the Blackhawks, says you got to go to Gino's East. And a guy, Bure 1096. That's all you need to know. Bure 1096 is his name. He says, you got to go to this place. Serena says, we're going to order from both. Make a big deal out of it. A pizza off in Chicago. It's going to be cold, I understand, too. I'm here for as much as you want to talk about that I can handle. Jeremy writes in, he is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and he says, if offered the job, Deion Sanders is accepting. He's talking, obviously, about the Dallas Cowboys. And what I appreciate about that is this. Was listening to Mike Florio this morning. I've upped my runs to now 5 miles. It gives me more time to listen to Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk. He's the guy I respect the most. I respect a lot of those NFL guys, but I like Florio the most. And you talked about how Sanders, do you guys remember how Prime originally said there's no way he's leaving Colorado? No way at all. Never going to the NFL a few years ago, he said. Now it's, I would go to the NFL, but only if I can coach my 2 kids. The Shitter and I think Silo is the DB. Shiloh. Not nearly as good as his brother. And now it's, I would go, but under these conditions. And now you're saying, Jeremy, that if offered the job, Prime says he'll take it. That's the one thing about guys like Jerry Jones. They usually get what they want. And I think he wants Prime, although I had just read this morning that Kellen Moore has entered the chat to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And let's not forget, they fired him just a couple of years ago, Kellen Moore, under Mike McCarthy. I was thinking about that for myself. Would you go back to a place that fired you? In this case, Kellen Moore. For me, you all know where that was. The only way I would go back is if there were absolutely no other options on the frickin' planet. That's me. I can't speak for Kellen Moore. Mark in Milford writes in, where they do the Milford Shuffle. He says, hey, Rod, what is Phil the Thrill Andrews doing? Miss him doing play-by-play for the Regina Pats. He's working for God now. Phil Andrews in Saskatoon with Athletes in Action and coaching at the University of Saskatchewan. That's what Phil's doing. Andrew Fields, I keep in touch with him. Great guy. When I say as much as I can do, Darcy in Grand Prairie writes in. He goes, I'm officially on Sasaki watch, but I do have a hockey question. I thought he meant Sasky watch, like Saskatchewan time.
No.
He writes in, he goes, Sasaki watch, the Japanese pitcher, not Saskatchewan watch. Yeah, bro, no. Not here. Not on January the 16th. Not with this guy. I got my hands full enough with football and hockey, CFL, NHL, NFL. No. Chad in Lethbridge. Somewhere you got to draw the line. I don't have enough time for all of that. I don't know how you people do. Chad in Lethbridge writes in. He says, morning RP, sad to hear the passing of the legendary Bob Uecker. I'm sure to hear his famous line at the ballpark this summer, just a bit outside. Rest in peace, Bob, a.k.a. Mr. Baseball. We opened the show talking about Bob Uecker passing away at the age of 90. I asked folks, what's your favorite Bob Uecker line? And people have been writing in. I'll ask you again. What's your favorite Bob Uecker line from the movie Major League or its sequels? Because he was in subsequent movies, too. It's never as good as the original, right? Bingo. Bob Uecker made the movie Major League. We can run down the whole list, right? Roger Dorn, Corbin Burnson, Charlie Sheen, Wesley Snipes, Tom Berenson was the catcher. They're all good, but Bob Uecker was great in that movie. And one of those guys that went for the broadcast booth, if we had more time and if I cared more, this could have been the discussion. A guy that went from playing the game up into the broadcast booth seamlessly. Another guy that like that was Pat Summerall. It's one thing you realize when you get a little older. Can you older folks that are watching, would you nod and realize you're not as important as you think? Pat Summerall and John Madden were my voices of the NFL. And you never, ever even hear Pat Summerall's name. And he was a kicker in the NFL and then became a play-by-play guy. And that's what he was remembered for. But he played in the league just like Bob Uecker. Nobody remember. Well, I shouldn't say nobody remembers Pat Summerall. I do, but I don't ever hear his name talked about. And I'm just wondering now, you can say a biz nasty, like there's analysts, but they're not play-by-play guys. It didn't happen anymore. I can't think of any. So you talk about the last of a dying breed, Bob Uecker, Pat Summerall, those kinds of guys. Randy Moeller here, if I may. He does color now for the Florida Panthers, but oh my God, he did play-by-play for a while. Randy Moeller is in that wheelhouse of guys. Not joking. Oh my God, what a man. We'll take a timeout and Daryl Ray, Alley, for you Stars fans. Yeah. We won't talk about Daryl Ray, but he called Stars games for a while, but then still. I know he does color. We'll be back in a moment. It was getting fun, isn't it? Here on Game Plus, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome back, everybody. This may be a quickie. We'll see. But do you have a winter birthday in your house? And is that birthday boy or girl obsessed with hockey? Then look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. It's the perfect place to celebrate birthdays for the hockey-loving kid in your life. Check them out at 28th Street, Northeast Calgary, and book your lane now. I want to say something about that, quite interestingly. This is going to carry over into hour 2, I think. But I know. Randy, who owns and runs Overtime Hockey Lanes, and his beautiful wife, Michelle, he tells me they have that shooting lane that says Rod Pedersen Show on it. Huge sign on the wall. And Randy says, anybody that comes in and looks at that and knows who I am, they always say, Rod Pedersen, voice of the Rough Ride. I'm like, bro, it's been 6 years. But it had been 20, so I get that. Maybe it always will be. So that's where we will start off with the sports update. The 2025 CFL season will kick off in Regina as 2 teams who returned to the playoffs last season will look to build on their momentum. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will welcome the Ottawa Redblacks on June 5th at Mosaic Stadium to start the long road to the 112th Grey Cup in Winnipeg, according to the league schedule released today. Toronto kicks off its Grey Cup title defense with a game at 2023 champion Montreal on June the 6th. Calgary hosts Hamilton, and BC entertains Edmonton in a June 7th doubleheader to cap Week 1. Winnipeg starts with a bye before opening its season at home June 12th against the BC Lions. Spoiler alert, this is where all those years as a play-by-play guy have kind of ruined me, in that I don't share the fans' exuberance for it. Now, I'd like to have seen a huge schedule release party like they do in the NFL. That's never going to happen in the CFL. It's part of the reason why they went their road, I went mine. But beside that, when you work in the league, it's like, tell me where I need to be and when, and I'll be there. Going to play 9 at home, 9 on the road. You know what I mean? I don't share the enthusiasm, but I understand many, many people also plan their summers around that. I'm not that big of a poo-pooer that I don't get other people that are excited. I'm just not that excited. That's all. But I'm mentioning it there, and we will next hour if that's what comes up. Jim Lang's going to be with us, though, to talk NFL. The Toronto Raptors have the day off after securing their second straight win. R.J. Barrett scored 22 points to help Toronto to a 110-97 win last night over Boston. Nick Taylor leads the Canadian contingent into the American Express Desert Classic, which tees off today in La Quinta, California. Joining him in the field are fellow Canadians Adam Hadwin, Mackenzie Hughes, and Ben Silverman. Sports updates for Landmark Cinemas. And Landmark Cinemas now Sonic the Hedgehog 3. In this one, Sonic the Hedgehog returns to the big screen in his most thrilling adventure yet, starring Idris Elba, Keanu Reeves, and Jim Carrey. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is in Landmark Cinemas now. I guess, I was going to get into the NHL schedule for tonight, but the odd thing about that is, in case you don't have a smartphone that lists all the games, I can read you all the games tonight in the NHL, but I think you can handle that fine. Next hour, we'll dedicate to football. Jim Clubber Lang will be with us, Canada's foremost NFL expert. Stick around. We'll be right back.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
This is peak Florida. Yes, it is. It's just so mean. From the moment I set foot there, they're like, don't leave. And the only reason I am is because it's too damn hot. But it's just anything goes, man. No helmets on motorcycles. No law. There's no laws in Florida. Ponies mating, and it's just my kind of thing.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Here we go. We're into it. We're in one. Welcome to Hour 2 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, broadcasting from Florida. Don't ask. Things happen. And, yeah, I'm pretty excited tonight. I'm not going to lie. Going to the Florida Panthers and the Detroit Red Wings. And if Brent from Wellington, Florida is still watching, I know, Brent, that you're not offended by this. I will be going to a birthday party tonight. Don't mind me. I'm just updating the website as well at the very same time. RodPedersen.com. That's where you can go for all the latest CFL information. You can come here for some CFL information, but that's not what everybody's interested in. That's how and why we break things up here. I guess, while we're at it, you guys want to hit the Quick Six show horn for those that showed up late that are joining us in progress. There were 2 breaking news items today. One broke before we went to air. We were prepared for that. Actually, I think maybe 2 of them broke before we went to air. Bob Uecker passing away at the age of 90 today. Mr. Baseball. What a moniker to have. The legendary Milwaukee Braves player, Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster. Never met him. Rod Black has, though. Rod Black, the iconic Canadian broadcaster. His son plays for the Brewers. He's met Bob Uecker. He passed away at the age of 90. The team announced it in a statement this morning. I'm asking the viewers, what's your favorite Bob Uecker line from the movie Major League? Just a bit outside. It's all, welcome to TP Talk. There's a million of them. He made the movie, Bob Uecker. And what's funny is that was 1988. So that was like, I'm terrible at math, but 38 years ago, almost 40 years ago. He was old then. And then the other is the CFL schedule has come out. And I read the spoiler last hour. It's just not something that I get really interested in. As the voice of teams for years, it's nice to know, but it's like, oh, okay, cool. Here's one for you to the NFL, and I should tell you that last hour, Jared Dumba was with us, our hockey analyst from the famous hockey-playing Dumba family. A lot of hockey. Here, football. Jim Lang joins us next segment, Canada's foremost NFL expert. It's just tumbling out of stories from the National Football League. Here's one. Viewer audiences for the first weekend of the NFL playoffs were down 9.3% from last year, a bigger decline than what the league experienced during the regular season. According to the league and Nielsen Ratings Bureau, the 6 wild card round games averaged 28.3 million viewers on television and digital platforms compared to 31.2 million last year. The 2 Saturday games held steady, while the Sunday and Monday matchups saw declines. So there's that. The most viewed game of the weekend was Philadelphia's 22-10 victory over Green Bay on Fox, which averaged 35.6 million. Brent from Wellington, Florida, is a Packers fan. He was actually there. So don't count him in the 35.6 million people that were watching on television, because he was there. Which reminds me, speaking of the Eagles, and I know that, there were football people that showed up an hour ago wanting to talk football then. Said they were going to leave because we weren't and come back now. So I hope they held to their word, but if not, we'll be fine. The poll question today has to do with those Eagles. Question is, who's the best running back in the NFL right now? Or I shouldn't say that. Who's better of these two? King Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens or Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles? Barkley, the New York Giants great, who left, I can only think because he was disgruntled in New York. Everybody is. Went to Philadelphia and almost broke Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record this year. Saquon Barkley, but that's not who I'm voting for. I'm voting for King Henry. I did a little math here. And by the way, the poll, what are they saying on YouTube, Clark, in terms of who's better? Who's leading the poll there? Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry? 61% saying King Henry. And put me in that. I voted for King Henry. So how do you base things like this? Derrick Henry has 11,423 career yards. Saquon Barkley has 7,216. Yeah, but Henry's been around 2 more years, Rod. Right, so let's go to average yards per carry. Over a career, Derrick Henry 4.9, Saquon Barkley 4.7. If anybody wonders why the coaches and the players get so worked up over the officials' calls, measurements, spots, it's these kinds of things because your record, in the end, is what you are. So if you want to go to math, trust the science. And then Derrick Henry wins this one by 0.2 of a yard. That's how I look at it as a guy that worked in pro football for a very long time. And the other thing is, if I'm got one game to win it all, I want Derrick Henry over Saquon Barkley. Now, wouldn't it be something if they met in the Super Bowl? Could happen. And Jim Lang will join us next segment to talk about all these games, plus a lot of other very interesting things with non-playoff teams. Well, let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. Here's news from the Star. The Dallas Cowboys have requested permission to interview Philadelphia offensive coordinator Kellen Moore in their search to replace Mike McCarthy. The Cowboys also are planning to interview 2 former NFL head coaches in Robert Saleh and Leslie Frazier. Kellen Moore has a long history with the Cowboys, including 4 seasons as Dak Prescott's play caller. 3 of those were after Mike McCarthy was hired in 2020. The Cowboys and McCarthy parted ways this week after 5 seasons. Conveniently missed there is that Kellen Moore parted ways with the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy. Hang on. Coming back to that. The Cowboys can meet virtually with Kellen Moore before the Eagles season is over, with limits on the amount of time. The NFC East champions play the LA Rams in the divisional round at home on Sunday. So that's why I listen to Florio so much. He knows what he's talking about at ProFootballTalk.com and NBC Sports Audio. And because you say, how could they interview Kellen Moore? His team's playing the Eagles. He's the offensive coordinator with Philly. You can do it virtually over Zoom for a set amount of time, and it's like early in the week or something of a game week. The NFL's not dumb. They have this stuff all worked out and thought out ahead of time. Kellen Moore said, quote, I have plenty of relationships in that place, Dallas. I've had so much fun there. It's been a really fun process, and we're in a special situation right now, getting the chance to play this Sunday, having a chance to make a run at this thing, and that's really all you worry about. Everything else is what it is, and we'll see where it takes you. If you weren't watching last hour, you really missed out. I said, look, he was fired there in Dallas. We all say it's mutual. It's never mutual. Look at your own life. If you left a job or if you left a relationship, was it mutual? It never has been for me. So it's like, would you go back to that same old situation if you were fired, if you were dumped? Not unless it was the last job on earth. That's just me. And for that reason, I don't think Kellen Moore is going to go to Dallas, nor will they hire him. They're not going to offer it to him anyways. It's going to go to, I think, Deion Sanders. Oh, we were talking last hour about the pizza. That is the pizza contest that Serena and I are putting together in Chicago this weekend. Freddie McBride is watching in Winnipeg. He writes in, he says, Gino's East has the best deep dish in Chicago run. Order the smaller, meaty legend because you won't finish the large. Great show again. Oh, yeah, but you don't get it, bro. I went out for supper, and Serena and I, with our old neighbor Gail the other day. It's a guy, Frenchman, actually. He goes, get the lasagna. It is so big you will be taking it home, half of it home tomorrow. I finished that, got done before he even had a bite. Mine was gone. He's like, you have big appetite. I said, I ran 5 miles today, bro. So the point is, you'd be surprised. That's 2 votes for Gino's East. Dale Talon, the former Blackhawks general manager and Florida Panthers general manager, said Gino's East as well. Listen, you guys are telling me. I can't even remember the name of the other place. But, I mean, Serena's the foodie of the 2 of us. I'm just the arm candy. Let's be honest. Lloyd writes in Regina. He says, hi, Rod. I watched Bob Uecker on a TV talk show, and he was asked why he wears a size 9 shoe on one foot and size 11 on the other. He calmly answered, it makes me look like I'm running faster. Thanks, Lloyd. Never saw that one. He's just one of those guys. Doesn't he just seem like one of those guys that would have all the lines? It's 1:11. 1:11 Eastern. And watch your feet, because I'm going to drop some names here. People think it's bragging, and it's not. It's just interesting, cool stories that have happened in my life. I did a banquet with Ray Bork, the great Ray Bork, one time. And he showed me a photo where the Bruins were by the pool at it was some Sunbelt location as a team. And he's like, look at this. At the other end of there was like 7 or 8 Bruins in this photo, all with their bathing suits on, hockey guys having fun in the middle of the afternoon. Other end of the photo, leaning on the bar in a Speedo, Bob Uecker. I said, Raymond. I said, what the hell is Bob Uecker doing there? He's like, I don't know. I assume the Brewers were on the road staying in the same hotel. Bob Uecker in a Speedo at the end of the bar. Ray Bork has the photo on his phone. He's like, can you believe this? Laverne is watching in Saskatoon. Sorry, Swift Current. He says, hey, RP, love this Bob Uecker line. The way to catch a knuckleball is to wait until it stops rolling and then pick it up. That's a good one. Vintage Sasko writes in regarding the other news of the day. He says, hi, Uncle Rod. Great show. The CFL schedule is like sex. A long build-up, but there's really only about 10 seconds of excitement when it comes out.
How about that? Bob's your uncle.
Blessings, Vintage Sasko. I'm rarely speechless, Clark.
Oh, no.
C. Lightning writes in and says, hit the like button to make Rod's show number one. Yeah, if you're watching on streaming, go down and hit the like button. That would help. Jeremy's in Winnipeg, right? He says, there is so much stuff going around Dallas. Jerry hires Sanders, trade Dak to Tennessee, and be okay with taking on the Dak $108 million dead cap. LOL, it's going to be wild. Florio was very good to listen to. Here's the one thing about Mike Florio. Guys and gals, I talk about him every day. That's how much I love him. And I listen to him for a few reasons. He reminds me of myself in a lot of ways, but he's way smarter. He's got a law degree. He's got a little bit of that prick to him. You know what I mean? But the thing is, his edge is way sharper and harder than mine, Florio. And he rants on two things. One, how things aren't the way they used to be. He is, in a way, a problem, part of that problem. I'll tell you what, because he was stealing stuff from me when I was the voice of the right, like quotes from Vince Young, photos of Vince Young, various things to go to ProFootballTalk.com. And I went at him and said, hey, you're not giving me any credit for this stuff. He never even responded, which in a way I kind of admired. You don't get credit anymore. I was sitting there last night. What the hell was I doing? Had time to kill. And I was surfing social media, and I saw all these college football sites are talking about Chris Jones going to Bill Belichick. Who broke the story? This guy. It used to be a thing to give credit where the sources were, and that broke the story. Now that's not a thing. But the other thing that he really gets into every day, and I want to talk to Jim Lang about this when he comes on next. I don't know if Jim's watching now or not, but every day Florio goes on and on and on about how NFL owners have wandered into this pool of giving Tom Brady so much control. They've given him part of a team, and they let him be on television, and it's looking the other way. He got out and read the legal definition of a conflict of interest. He goes, this is the legal definition of a conflict of interest, what they're doing with Tom Brady. And he goes, and the owners aren't going to realize it until the Raiders get good and they're kicking everybody's ass, and all the other owners are going to go, oh, my God, what have we done? Because I'm sorry to say, you all think the owners are so brilliant. They're brilliant in their industries, whatever that is, tech, oil, gas, you name it, but they're not as brilliant when it comes to football or hockey or whatever. Nobody's ever been able to make that distinction. Those of us that have worked in it know that. And I want to get Jim's take on that and a lot of other things. Taylor in Calgary says, is that a Dunkin' coffee cup, Rod? How is it? Never had Dunkin' before. Is it as good as Tim's? Nothing's as good as, well, it's not as good as Tim's. Starbucks is the best. Starbucks is up here. Tim's is number 2. Dunkin' would be a very close number 3. I love Dunkin'. In America, I got Dunkin' number 2 to Starbucks. Yeah. I could talk about coffee all day, too. Rich in Edmonton says, will be a long time before the Raiders are dominant. I don't agree with Tom Brady at the controls. All right, Jimmy, you ready? That's your team. Jim Lang coming in next. Canada's foremost NFL expert. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Things have happened today that I didn't expect. We have started a holy war in the comments on coffee. Blair in Calgary writes in regarding Bob Uecker passing away today at age 90. He says, "Good day, Rod. You're right. You hit it right on the head. No one can compare to the sports media guys of yesterday. Bob Uecker was and is a beauty. I really love your show. Keep it up." Signed, Blair from Calgary. Also, Sasko needs a new partner. If you know, you know. Okay, Jim Lang, Canada's foremost NFL expert. We got a lot of time to get to it, Jim. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm good, Rod. How are you doing?
Top of the world, man. I'm going to the Detroit Red Wings and Florida Panthers tonight. Everything is amazing. I got so much to get to with you. I got a lot of extra time, though, to cover all the topics. You're still a Raiders fan? You haven't given up yet, right?
I am. No, I am. And I heard your conversation about Mike Florio and Tom Brady. So hit me because I want to get into it.
Well, do you think that the conflict of interest thing, you've been around, Jim, a slightly longer than me, that the conflict of interest only matters if they want it to matter. Otherwise, they'll look the other way. Forget about that. Will he turn the Raiders into a contender? Like, how much control do you think he'll have? I think he's got a lot. If they're smart, they'll give him a lot.
Okay, so you go into the offseason, and one of the biggest decisions any franchise has is getting a franchise quarterback, getting a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or whomever it is. The Raiders still need a franchise quarterback, and you have the greatest quarterback in the history of the league assisting management and ownership in finding that quarterback, whether it is through free agency, trade, or through the draft. That gives the Raiders an advantage over other teams. Tom Brady will be able to see things in a quarterback that maybe a scout or the director of player personnel may not see. Tom Brady may see a little thing like, wait, this guy does this. We can work with them. That's going to be a good player, a good quarterback someday. Now, if I'm another owner and another GM, I'm saying, wait a second, how can he be part owner of the Raiders, helping them get a quarterback that maybe we wanted, and they get him and they beat us, and he's in the broadcast booth? That's not right. That is, Mike Florio's right. That is a conflict of interest.
Totally. So why are they allowing it to happen?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. If you're an NHL player, you own a junior hockey team, big deal. You're not in the NHL. If you're a broadcaster in the NHL and you're the part owner of the Winnipeg Jets, you can't call the game. You're part owner of the team. That's, in any walk of life, in any business, like you're going to buy a minority, like you're going to be a minority owner in a business and then compete against them. I don't understand how the league is allowing this. And the fact of the matter is, Greg Olsen is a better broadcaster. Like Tom Brady's had all year, and he's only gotten marginally better. But Greg Olsen is head and shoulders better as an NFL analyst than Tom Brady, and he's got the Emmy Awards to prove it. And every time you're on a weekend watching games, one with Greg Olsen and one with Tom Brady, there's no comparison. And Fox, you can give Tom Brady all the money in the world. It's not going to make him the broadcaster that Greg Olsen is.
Here's what's wild about it, and we're going to move on. Dude, we could talk about this for hours, but so the NFL's in love with Tom Brady. They're in love with him now. They're looking the other way on these rules. Number one. Yeah. Number two, Deflategate went to a grand jury, Jim. NFL versus Tom Brady. So you want to talk about a flip? He was their public enemy number one, and now he's the guy.
But the league doesn't need him to be a broadcaster to be successful. The NFL, they don't need it. They're fine without him in the broadcast booth. So if he's the part owner of a football team, then be a part owner. Work in the front office. You can't do both. I don't understand how they're allowing this. And quite frankly, I think Fox realizes that when they have a marquee game, it's like Kevin Burkhardt, who I believe he did most of the play-by-play with Tom, would be just trying to drag it out of him. Where when Greg Olsen's doing the games, it's just seamless between the play-by-play announcer and Greg. He knows, they know, it's just a better broadcast.
Well, it's just funny because I feel bad for Tom. Playing football comes naturally to him. Broadcasting does not. And I hope this illustrates to fans that it's not so easy to go from one to the other. It's not. But enough about non-teams or non-playoff teams. We'll come back to the Cowboys in a second. This is on me. I went down that road. But people want your take on the games. Do you see an upset this weekend at all? Because there were, as you know, a couple on the weekend, wild card weekend. But Houston at KC, Chiefs favored by 8.5. Washington at Detroit, Lions favored by 9.5. Rams at Philly, Eagles favored by 6.5. And the lone road team to be favored is Baltimore at Buffalo by a single point. You go along with those?
I go along with it, but my pick for an upset this weekend is the Rams. I'm the Eagles. I didn't want to face the Rams. They're healthy. Puka Nakua is healthy. Cooper Kupp is healthy. Matt Stafford's playing well. The Rams defense is very young and opportunistic. Sean McVay can still call a great offensive game. That he's not lost that skill. They're playing with house money. So the Rams go into this game in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia, for whatever reason, for a team that won 14 games and won their opening playoff game, they've been taking heat from the fans and media in Philadelphia, especially Coach Nick Sirianni, all year. There's an expectation that somehow they're going to blow it, and maybe that's the mindset of Philadelphia sports fans, that they're always going to blow it in the end until they don't, and they're like, hey, we knew it all along. But if I'm the Eagles, I have concerns about the Rams. The Rams are a dangerous team. The Commanders has been a great story, but I don't see the Lions losing at home, rested off the bye week. This is Dan Campbell sort of like creating this where this is our year, this is our team of destiny. We're finally going to go to the Super Bowl this year, and they're not going to let Washington stop them. The Texans, I really like what DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud have done. They're not beating the Chiefs on the road, and I don't think there's a favorite in the Bills-Ravens game. That's why it's a 1-point spread. It's basically a pick 'em. The Baltimore Ravens are, as far as I'm concerned, whoever wins this game is going to win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC between the Bills and the Ravens. They're both that good. Their quarterbacks are that good. The Ravens running game, as we've seen, what Derrick Henry has done, especially the last month of the season or the postseason, it's been frightening. But I mean, he hit Minka Fitzpatrick on a stiff arm last week against the Steelers. It was borderline felonious assault, and Lamar Jackson's playing at an elite level. This is going to be such a tough game. The weather conditions in Buffalo Sunday night, it's a 6:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. A polar vortex is pushing down from northern Canada into southern Ontario into the States. The wind chill is going to be maybe minus 25 at kickoff. Brutally cold weather, tough conditions. It's a very windy stadium to begin with, Rod, and it's going to be a real slobber knocker of a game, like a heavyweight championship bout where the last team standing wins. That's what we're going to witness. That is the game of the weekend. And whoever wins, it's not an upset either way. It's more of a war of attrition and who can survive each other, because it's going to be just body blow after body blow, and who can make the least amount of mistakes in a game like that, because they're so close and they're so good and they're so well coached and they're so talented. One or two little mistakes could be the tipping point in that game.
Dabbling to viewer comments, Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I can't get enough of Jim Lang. So there you go, Jim, from Wayne in Victoria. Bomber Boy
Thanks,
writes in and says, it sounds like someone likes throwing shade at TB12. Oh, I know. Florio just bangs on Tom Brady every day. And I'm like, it makes you look bad, Mike, but I keep watching anyways because I like him the most. It's an abusive relationship.
I like Tom. I like Tom,
so do
the football person. I like him when he's in these podcasts. Have you seen the Julian Edelman podcast? He's been on. He's a great storyteller. He gives great insight to football. But being in a booth during a game is a completely different animal. And, Tom has so many skills. He does so many things well. And I think if you have someone like that in your front office, what a resource to use. But, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against Tom Brady. Not at all.
I understand it.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't mind his color. His delivery's not great. But you know what? What he says is fantastic. And a non-football guy couldn't deliver what Tom Brady does. So we'll see how long it lasts. Because if he's got to pick one,
fair.
my guess is he's going to pick being an owner. And I could go on about that forever. But what I started to say, and by the way, Florio's partner, Chris Sims, chimed in on this and said, not only can Tom pick quarterbacks, as you were saying, he'll be able to sniff out a great coach too. A good coach, a phony. They should hand the keys to Tom Brady. So that's why Rich in Edmonton's like, I hope you're right. I hope that they do turn it around, or Tom turns it around. He will, man. That's what Tom does. How much more proof do you need? And speaking of that, in Dallas, it's abusive. The relationship between Jerry Jones and the fans and what goes on. It's not right, Jim. It's not right. What are you seeing?
Well, the sad thing is, Jerry Jones' best performance the last 12 months was his 2-minute stint on Landman, the show with Billy Bob Thornton on Paramount. If he was as good at football as he was that little bit of acting he did, they'd be in the playoffs still right now, or at least in the postseason. I know the name Deion Sanders is being thrown around, but Deion Sanders has built something really good in Colorado. Great program. They just had a story the other day. All the kids are achieving a 3-point minimum grade point average. There's an academic element. He's makes the kids go to class. He's the kind of coach, like, it's old school. Like, no hats and hoodies in the meeting room. You sit up, you listen, no phones. Like, there's a lot of parents like, send my kid to Colorado. And he's turning these young boys into men. And he's creating good football players. They had a very good year. And he's got a great team going at the University of Colorado. And whether or not he leaves, if he's going to go to Dallas, he's going to say to Jerry, like, Jerry, I want to run the show. I run the show already. I am the guy. You can be the owner. You know, but like, you're not making my decisions. And until Jerry agrees to that, like, I just don't see how it turns around. You could, like, bring any coach in the world, you interview them, the top coaches will say, look, I'm the coach. This is what I want, you know, A, B, C, and D. You know, I do this, I do that. And if Jerry says, no, like, I'm the owner, but it's my team, and that's not how it works around here in Dallas, well, they're going to go, okay, because I'll go to another team that let me do that. Do you think Andy Reid is going to let, or any of these top coaches still, or Dan Campbell, or whomever, or John Harbaugh, let the owner have as much say as Jerry Jones does? I mean, I like okay, he's got his kids with different jobs in the front office. He wants to be his family. I'm a parent. I can respect that. But he really, truly believes that he knows more about football than everybody else. And that's a scary thing for anyone. But especially, he made his money in what? Real estate development, oil and gas exploration. He made his fortune at that. He bought a football team. He was smart enough to hire Jimmy Johnson, who created a dynasty that even when Jimmy Johnson left, they still won a Super Bowl without him because of what Jimmy Johnson had built there through the draft and trades. And you know, it's been year after year of, this is the year they're going to turn it around. But until Jerry Jones can get out of his way, Rod, how can it turn around?
I love that you outlined everything that's gone on in Dallas very well. You should get into broadcasting, Jim. You did a very nice job of that. But have you read...
How about that?
Have you read any of the Cowboys books or history, like Boys Will Be Boys, or any of those?
Yes.
Like,
The Boys Will Be Boys is one of the great sports books ever written.
Jeff Pearlman, yeah. I loved the story where Jimmy Johnson used to knock back a dozen Heineken on the way home from road games on the flights, and he'd go to the back of the plane and cut somebody. And then the next day at practice, go, where's that Jim Langa? You cut him last night, Jimmy. Oh. I could see that happening. But anyways, you know, to Deion, Florio was saying it. A few years ago, he said he'll never coach in the NFL, doesn't want to. Now he's softened to, I'll coach, but only want to coach my kids. And now I guess today he said if he's offered the Cowboys job, he'll take it. This is what narcissists do, everybody. They're charming and they wear you down. And that's what Jerry Jones has done to Deion. So I don't think nobody can have success there, Jim. But I think Deion at least knows what he would be getting into. You'd have a chance.
I hope so. Okay, when you're going into a meeting room in college football with a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old kids, and you're telling them to sit up and put the phone away and no hats in the meeting room and I'm the boss, that carries more weight because they need to get reps and game time and TV time for scouts and teams to see them so they can get drafted. Are you going to go to a 12 full-grown man in the midst of a 4-year, $25 million contract and tell them they can't wear a hat in the meeting room? And like some of that college stuff is not going to fly with grown men in professional football. And so Deion would have to adjust his way of doing things a little bit. You know, I mean, don't forget, there's the memories of his time in Dallas and the White House and the way they behaved off the field when he was there is still fresh in the memory of a lot of people in Texas. So and then he's going to tell young players, don't go to the club, don't party, be dedicated. you know, it's different when you're talking to college kids about it and guys in the pros. Do I think maybe if he got the right offer, he would do it, Rod? Probably, because you're right. There is those egos involved. And maybe Dion says, I can be the guy finally to turn the Dallas Cowboys around, and then they'll remember me forever.
Well, number one, I don't think Dion was part of that crowd. I never saw or read his name included with those guys that were doing that. Yeah. And number two, as far as egos, I equated it to Mike Babcock coaching the Leafs. I'm like, he's the perfect fit for that. And we saw how that worked. So I'm not saying it would work, but I'm saying he's the best candidate to try it. Okay, Jim, this has been a lot of fun. Enjoy the game, brother. Let's do it again soon.
And real quick, Bob Uecker, people have to remember, the guy was the broadcaster for Milwaukee for 54 years. You know, all the stuff on Johnny Carson and his TV show, Mr. Belvedere, 54 years, the voice of a Major League Baseball team. That is an incredible run for Bob Uecker.
He's a god, no doubt. Thanks, Jim. Canada's foremost NFL expert, Jim Lang, joining us from the T-Dot. All right, viewer takeover the rest of the way. And a sports update on this Thursday. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Drink clean, live green. Filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Hour 2 of the RP Show for Culligan Water of Regina. Visit culliganregina.com. And by the way, news you can use. If it bleeds, it leads. The 2025 CFL season will kick off in Regina as two teams who returned to the playoffs last season will look to build on their momentum. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will welcome the Ottawa Redblacks on June 5th at Mosaic Stadium to start the long road to the 112th Grey Cup in Winnipeg. From the text line, 902-518-3033, Rennie in Toronto writes in, he says, flight and hotel booked for Grey Cup weekend. Go Argos. So this day that, as you can tell, CFL fans have been waiting quite a long time for is arrived today, January 16th. Today's the 16th, right? Had it on the wrong. We weren't on the same page. CFL schedule comes up. Rich in Edmonton writes in and says, great stuff from fellow Raider fan Jim Lang. Okay. Squirrel moment. Jeff, who is it? Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in. He says, I love Mr. Belvedere. Had a crush on the girl. Long before your time, Clark, and Moose wouldn't have any idea either, but it was the sitcom which Bob Uecker played Mr. Belvedere. He was the butler.
How about that?
Wealthy LA family. That wealthy LA family, right? Bob Uecker, Mr. Belvedere. I love that show too. I love Silver Spoons. I love Different Strokes. I love Webster. I love them all. But you said you had a crush on the girl. Who was your first crush, everybody? Male or female? Mine, Lonnie Anderson. And for a lot of you, I think that will explain a lot. Lonnie Anderson that's a woman, Clark.
How about that?
Was my crush, my first crush, Lonnie Anderson. Who was yours, Clark? Oh, he says the pink Power Ranger. That's just sick. It's an inanimate object, is it not? Like a cartoon? I don't know. A Power Ranger. It's a real person. Yeah. The generational gap got us. Amy Jo Johnson, never heard of her. Beverly Hills, Saved by the Bell. Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Yeah, we're comparing eras here. I love this talk about the broadcasters and who's good, who's not. This is why I put it up on our Facebook the other day and our Twitter as well. Who's your favorite former player or former coach analyzing football these days? I think it's a blessing, but a curse that I work in this recovery field where I deal so much in human behavior. It's like, if you want to think a certain way, and if you do think a certain way, it's almost impossible. It is impossible for you to change the way you think unless you want to change the way you think or the way you see something or anything like that. See what I'm saying? That's just the way that it is. It's why it's very hard, why there's so many arguments, right? To just say, you know what, have it your way and walk away is very rare. So we can't all agree. Like, I like Tom Brady, and I will always like Tom Brady on the air. It's funny that the gentleman wrote in here earlier, but it sounds like Mike Florio's likes throwing shade at Tom Brady. He bangs on Tom Brady every day to the point that I'm almost done listening to him. That's why I don't criticize the CFL to the degree that I used to, because I'm like, you know what? I'm sure the CFL fans don't like it. And I just won't talk about it then, because I still have those thoughts. I just don't sit and bang away on them. I'll always like Tom Brady. And if you don't like Tom Brady, which Mike Florio clearly doesn't, and a lot of fans of other NFL teams, it's particularly Patriots rivals, they don't like him. They're not going to like him in the booth either. See what I'm saying? If you have a predisposition to something, very hard to get you to change. Now, having said that, getting people to stay on task, by the way, is nearly impossible as well, on point. We're talking about players and coaches turned broadcasters somehow or another. And this, like C. Lightning, big fan of the show, great guy, writes in, he says, Wayne Gretzky couldn't help the Coyotes as a coach. That is not the argument. Wayne in BC writes in and says, some guys just aren't great as an analyst. Take Bobby Orr, for instance. He was the best hockey player of all time, but wasn't great in front of the camera. And C. Lightning takes it and says, and Gretzky wasn't a good coach. That wasn't the discussion. Okay. Ooh. Navy Dawn, watching in Ottawa, writes in, he says, Anne Margaret. I got you on that one. He says, I've been smitten by redheads ever since. I know we got a break, but we can continue this into overtime. My claim to fame is this. In the lobby of the Sleep Inn in Minot, North Dakota, there's an autographed photo of me there as the voice of the Rough Riders. The Rough Riders are a big deal in Minot, North Dakota. And my photo, signed 8x10, is right between Anne Margaret and Conway Twitty. Bet you didn't know that, Navy Dawn. Shy Courage writes in and says, Raquel Welch. Not going to argue with you on that one. Paul in Humboldt says, Diana Rigg, Mrs. Peel in The Avengers. I don't even know what that is. What's your other one? Deb Dunning from Tool Time. Yeah, I got that one. Deb Dunning from Tool Time. Not going to argue with you on that one, Clark.
How about that?
Free Oleg in Winnipeg writes in, says, Christy McNichol. Look it up. She's cute. She didn't age well, though, Oleg. That's all I'm going to say. Mike Wynn in Winnipeg from Ice Time Sports says, Alyssa Milano. She played Samantha Maselli on Who's the Boss? Frankly, I like Judith Light. There's a blonde thing in there. Upstate New York, Cardinal Ryan says, first celebrity crush, Elizabeth Shue. Did you see her in Cobra Kai? We'll be back with overtime. It's just getting good. Live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Overtime's for Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. See what we did there? Are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? With state-of-the-art shooting lanes at Overtime Hockey Lanes, they're the perfect place to do it. Top-notch equipment, ultimate training zone for players of all ages and skill levels, and a licensed bar for the adults. Check them out at overtimehl.ca. Throwing a disclaimer up if it gets a little goofy here. Don't at me. It's funny because C Lightning writes in, where is it? Rod is always entertaining. Hit the thumbs up. You know what's interesting about that is a lot of my best stuff comes out when it's just me sitting in front of the mic. No guests, no nothing, just me and you. And it's funny because I listen to Howard Stern. If he's got a guest on there, I don't like to listen. I just want to hear Howard. It's a little like Mike Florio when he has all his guests on. I just want to hear Florio. But I will admit to getting tired of him banging on Tom Brady. At some point, enough's enough. We're asking, who was your childhood crush? Haven't heard from a lot of the women here. Navy Don writes in, he says, Avengers was a British spy show from the late 60s and early 70s. Yeah, that's why you missed me on that one. As Shai writes in, says, Rod grew up with 3 channels, if lucky. 3 channels, one was French. So I didn't get a lot of these TV shows. Shai goes on to say, Suzanne Summers in the white T-Bird from American Graffiti. Stop. You had me at Suzanne Summers. Come and knock on our door. Leonard Ferguson writes in and says, Daisy on the Dukes of Hazzard. Great legs. Bro. When they name a design of cutoffs after you, probably a pretty good indication. We were in the Country Music Hall of Fame last month, and there was a car there. I can't remember which country singer owned it, because there was a lot in the Country Music Hall of Fame of these classic cars. And it had the big horns, cattle horns on the hood. And I said to Serena, I'd like to get a set of those and put them on the hood of my Jeep in Florida. And she says, you do that, you'll be driving alone. Why they got to be like that, Clark?
How about that?
So I didn't get the cattle horns to put on the hood of my Jeep, but I think that would be cool. Okay. Jeremy in Winnipeg writes in, we're kind of getting an indication of people's ages here. The audience says Jennifer Aniston. Dude, say less. Herb's watching in Melville. He says Suzanne Summers. Yep. Sports update, NCAA. Starting this year, the NCAA Women's March Madness will feature financial rewards for participating teams, similar to the performance units earned in men's hoops. NCAA D1 members voted unanimously in favor of the measure. Meanwhile, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, and Michael Vick headline the College Football Hall of Fame's class of 2025, which includes 18 players and 4 coaches. They have that in Vegas every year, and I've been invited to it. I feel like it's time to go. That's a pretty good class. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Michael Vick going into the 2025 College Football Hall of Fame induction class. Baseball, the Athletics have signed 18-year-old two-way phenom Shotaro Mori. He's the first Japanese player to sign with an MLB team directly out of high school. By the way, Clark, I won't be in the post-show meeting. Clark. Yeah, so we're good. I got a jet right after the show for a haircut. Just putting that out there. Oh, and Scott O'Neill is taking over as CEO of Live Golf, ending Greg Norman's 3-year run at the helm. O'Neill was previously CEO of Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, who owns the 76ers and New Jersey Devils. The sports update is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Get more of what you love with free movies and concession items, invites to exclusive screenings, and more with their rewards program, Landmark Extras. There are 3 rewarding programs to choose from. They get you something extra with every movie purchase you make. Check out landmarkcinemas.com to register for free today. Well, that was a hell of a lot of fun, wasn't it? Yes, Wayne, you're right. It was a fun one today. We'll do it all again tomorrow, noon Eastern, here on Game Time.
I had this steak!